Jamie Tremble is a top 5 tight end in the ACC by the end of the year. And when you say by the end of the year, this is definitely a take that I can get behind. I absolutely love this one. Jamie Tremble was one of Syracuse's highest rated recruits in the 2024 recruiting class. He was either a consensus 4-star recruit or a near consensus 4-star recruit. There might have been one recruiting service that had him as a 3-star, to be honest with you. I don't remember. But regardless, highly rated recruit in 2024. He profiles as a receiving tight end. And I think that's what you really mean by this. Leading or being top 5 in the ACC by tight ends in receiving yards because he's a receiving tight end. Look, Fran Brown has raved about his upside. Fran Brown has raved about how he's developing. And he's also said, we're going to like how Syracuse uses Jamie Tremble this season. My concern is that right now, Dan Villari appears to be ahead of Jamie Tremble on the depth chart, and Fran Brown basically confirmed that at ACC Media Day. I think what'll happen with Jamie Tremble, and I've said this before, is he's going to have the opportunity for his role to grow. I don't think Tennessee week 1, he's going to play too much. He's going to be given limited snaps, limited opportunities. But if he does well in those limited snaps and those limited opportunities, his role will grow. So, could by the end of the season, we're sitting here saying Jamie Tremble is a top 5 tight end in the ACC? Yeah, that's on the table. If his role grows and he excels, maybe we do consider him a top 5 ACC tight end. And who knows, maybe he's on the preseason all-conference team in 2026. This is definitely a hot take that I can get behind. Jamie Tremble, top 5 tight end in the ACC. Not exactly offense, but Trip Woody becomes breakout ACC All-American and becomes the next great Cuse kicker. I actually replied to this takeover on X saying, you know what? Kickers put up points on the board. So even though it's special teams, I like where your head's at. And I'm going to count this on this show. Should I have counted it? Should I have not? Maybe you can leave your thoughts in the comment section below, but I'm counting it because it's certainly a hot take here. Let's talk about Trip Woody a little bit because we really haven't talked about him at all on this show or Syracuse's kicking situation. And don't worry, we'll have a special teams preview podcast at some point either this week or next week. Woody was brought in this offseason in the transfer portal from Iowa. He spent 1 season over at Iowa and he did not attempt a single kick while he was there. Iowa actually does have a pretty good kicker over there in Drew Stevens. So Woody was not going to be given an opportunity to kick for them this season unless Drew Stevens got hurt. It makes sense why he would enter the transfer portal to kicker. Only one kicker can really be on the field. And if Drew Stevens is making kicks, your other kicker's not going to see the field, right? So he gets to Syracuse with an opportunity. And let's be honest, Woody does not have to be good to win Syracuse's starting kicker job. There, I said it. Forget the hot take for a moment here. He doesn't even have to be good. He can maybe be average and win the job. Last season, Syracuse had the worst kicking game in the ACC. They converted less than 60% of their field goals. The lone returner of the trio of kickers they tried is Jaden O. Jaden O last year went 2 for 5 on his field goal attempts, 0 for 3 over 40 yards. Actually, didn't even attempt to kick over 50 yards. So between 40 and 49 yards, those were all 3 of his misses. And his longest field goal make was 32 yards. So Trip Woody, I honestly have no idea if he's going to be good or not. I really don't. I don't really have any expectations. I am just hoping that he can win Syracuse's kicking job, because if he does not win the kicking job, Syracuse is probably going to have the worst kicking game in the ACC again. That's probably going to be their biggest weakness. Unless Trip Woody wins the job or Jaden O proves me wrong. So, hey, I'm open to it. Him having an all ACC, all American type season, and I'm certainly counting it on this show. Thank you for the submission there. Finally, your final hot take for you all from @CuseNation1. Hot take: Yassine Willis has 1,000 plus yards. One receiver hits 1,000 plus, with at least two others around the 900 range. What you described is pretty much what happened with Syracuse football last year to a T on offense. LaQuinn Allen rushed for over 1,000 yards a year ago. You had Jackson Meeks go over 1,000 yards receiving. And then Trevor Pena and Aronde Gadsden, they didn't hit 1,000 yards, but they were both over 900 receiving yards. All of those guys, we've talked about this at length, are gone from Syracuse football. But it's possible they do it again with the new personnel that they do have. Yassine Willis, 1,000 rushing yards, I think will largely depend on the workload that he is given. Is Will Nixon going to be taking carries from him? We'll find out, I guess, this regular season. But I'm open to the possibility that Yassine Willis breaks out and has a massive year for Syracuse. Sure. Could happen. On the table. 1,000 yards receiving from one of these receivers. I would say it's more likely to be either a Daryl Gill or a Johntay Cook than it is to be a Justice Ross Simmons, but I'm open to it. And then two others with 900. It's tricky because think about how good Syracuse's offense was last year, and they barely were able to achieve 1,000 yards rushing from a running back, 1,000 yards receiving from a receiver, and two others go over 900. They were barely able to do it with how good the Syracuse offense was last year. But it's not impossible. There is precedent over at Syracuse for something like this to be done. So could the trio of Daryl Gill and Johntay Cook and Justice Ross Simmons go for 1,900, 900? And Yassine Willis has 1,000 rushing yards? I'm open to it. I think it is possible, certainly a hot take.